Hello. My name is Lizard and I am searching for griffins, and today I plan on reviewing every game I've played on Steam that I have either beaten or played for at least 5 hours. As you can see, there is 112 games total, so I've got to go rapid fire here. So let's start off, 140, pretty cool little platformer. Isn't quite as rhythmic as it kind of advertises itself as, but it is a cheap little game, so it's fine. I only have played technically the first half of it, but I'm counting that as beat it because the second half of it is just the same levels again except permadeath. This is awful. 2064 Read Only Memories is a fantastic little game. It does advertise itself as a point and click when it is in reality a visual novel using a point and click format. But I love it. It is pretty solid. It is a good little game. I'm going to describe some of these as good little games. Memories of Old. It's a game where you can fly around as a bird. Has some light puzzles and dungeon mechanics, but it's mostly a game about exploration and flying as a bird. You kind of get that on the package, and it has good flight mechanics. So yeah. Ark Survival Evolved. I have apparently played this for 24 hours. I really don't remember much of it. It's a survival game of dinosaurs and tech. Banner Saga. This is a fantastic game. It is an SRPG meets Oregon Trail. And all three games are that. The first one is the best. Has one route. Every game has 2 routes, and the first one has one route spans all 3 games, or the first one, second one, and third one also all have a unique route. And the route that spans all 3 games gets progressively easier to the point where in the third game it's basically just you win. But the other routes are still incredibly difficult. Bastion, the first Supergiant game. It is fantastic action RPG with different weapon systems, and it's just a really cool game. Blue Fire, love this. It's basically Hollow Knight, which I actually don't own on Steam, so it won't be on here, but it's basically Hollow Knight 3D, but with a more mesh story. But it is a sort of, has precision platform segments, it's 3D, obviously. It is a Souls, I'm gonna say Souls Light, because it isn't super difficult, but it is really cool. I love it so much. Borderlands 2, I haven't played all that much of in the grand scheme of things. I really like it. I love the style of it. I don't tend to love tight ammo management, which I haven't gotten to the point where there's really tight ammo management, so bonus. The Bridge is a puzzle game. I do not like it that much. I honestly... You get to the point later on in the game where you have puzzles that are both out of the box and some of them that are just really specific how you do them. So you don't really ever know if you're just not quite doing the puzzle right or if you're not even on the right track. Buddy Simulator 1984. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend you going into it blind. It does have some spoopy elements, so know that going into it, but I love it so much. Bug Fables. This is a Paper Mario-esque game. I've seen some gameplay of Paper Mario. I've never played it myself. This honestly looks better. Like, it is such a good game. And as you can see, I've played it for a long time. I did 100% it. Celeste. This is my favorite game that is on Steam. It is a game that deals with depression and anxiety, and it's also an incredibly difficult precision platformer. And it's just gorgeous, gorgeous pixel art. I love it so much. Chicory. Heh. Celeste and Chicory actually have the same composer for both games, and she is fantastic. But Chicory is, instead of a precision platformer that's incredibly difficult, a game where you paint the world around you. And it is so cool. I don't know what to think about the fact that there is apparently a but in the... Oh my goodness. I mean, that just goes to show you can do whatever you want. Chroma Squad, yes, I have played it for this long. It is a silly little Super Sentai styled SRPG. Very on the simplistic side. There's a little bit of like resource management happening too. But it is a cute little game full of like pop culture references and the like. Coffee Talk. Honestly, I highly recommend you play Valhalla over this. But if you've played Valhalla already and you're looking for another game in the same genre, this is definitely in there. It's very similar to Valhalla, except instead of a cyberpunk bartender, you're a fantasy coffee shop owner. You're like the only coffee shop open at night. Dark Knight with Marilyn Monroe. This is the first game to be mentioned by this company. All of their games are fantastic. It is a, somewhat spoopy FMV game. I do recommend you definitely play the other ones before this one, as there are references to it, including the fact that Poe and Monroe are from the Shape-Shifting Detective. They have the Tentacle Remastered. I mean, old school point-and-click adventure game, not really my genre. I did have to look up a guide to beat it. But it is full of charm and definitely something that's, at the very least, probably worth looking up a playthrough of to get a little bit of old school gaming action. Deepest Sword. This game is just a giant joke, but it's actually really good gameplay. Yes, I have played it that long. I was trying to get the last speedrunning achievement. I could not get it. But it is a solid game, and it's free to play, so I do recommend it. Doki Doki Literature Club, another free to play game. This one, on the other hand, is a horror game. It's really good, but definitely not for those who are young. Very much so deserving of a mature rating. However, it's kind of joked about in the community. It doesn't have a mature rating for the reasons you would guess. Looking at the cover, it would have a mature rating. It doesn't have any of that in it. But it's definitely not a game for younger people or people who are easily disturbed. Don't Starve Together. I haven't played all that much of it. Wendy OP, in my experience. My phone just pinged. Ugh. Let me turn on Do Not Disturb. Wendy's OP from what I have seen of it, but I haven't played all that much of it. And I know a lot of people think that, I don't remember her name, but the carnivore is the strongest character from what I was looking up. I don't know if that's changed. I know they've added in more characters. So yeah. Electronic Super Joy 2. Very weird game. However, it is free to play. So if you have any interest in the series, I don't know why this one's free to play and not the first one. But very weird game. Again, it has heavy, I think it's EDM music in it. I honestly don't know how to describe this one other than weird. Ellipsis is a self-described avoid 'em up, and it is fantastic. It has precision platformer vibes, even though it's not in any way, shape, or form a precision platformer. But it is fantastic, and I do, if you like the hard games, recommend looking at this one. Evil Land Legendary Edition. Doing a quick review of Evil Land 1. It's very gimmicky. You watch the evolution of gaming. It's a 4-hour-long game, and you've seen most that there is to see by hour 2. However, Evil Land 2 is a fantastic game that, despite being filled with pop culture references in the point where even the story is basically just a giant pop culture reference, actually has a really good story that is open to some interpretation. As in, what actually happened. Like, it's one of those games that you played and you know something specific was written, but you don't even know entirely what that is. It's fantastic. The gameplay itself is comprised of multiple different genres. Fallout New Vegas, I just couldn't get into this one when I was playing it. I know it's a fantastic game, but I've had more luck getting both into Fallout 3 and Oblivion. So, yeah, I don't know. I need to try it again at some point. Frog Detective 2. We also have Frog Detective 1 here. I'm going to go ahead and do both of them once I get the Frog Detective 1. Gang Beasts. I've only played this 2-player. I think it would be a blast to play it more. It's a physics, ragdolly, like, multiplayer combat game. It's pretty cool, though. Nog? Nog is a game where you basically interact with boxes, but it's pretty cool. It's a little light puzzle game. Goat Simulator. I mean, it's Goat Simulator. You play a goat. You do stuff. That's basically it. Golf with Your Friends. This is one of my favorite games ever. It is janky at times, but it's janky in fun ways most of the time. Guacamelee. I haven't played this one much. As you can see, it barely squeaks into the 5-hour mark. However, from what I've played of it, it was fantastic. I was playing it with my dad, and it was a bit too difficult for him, too combo focused. I'm definitely interested in trying this one out by myself at some point. Hand of Fate is a rogue. It's a roguelite deck building board game almost. Like, it's not a card game. It's a game where the cards in your deck form the board, and then you move across the cards. And those bad cards that the game forces you to take, as well as your various cards that can do just, some of them might be more luck-based, some of them are combats, they're just various things, and the combats are action. Ahead in time, I couldn't really ever get into this one. It was just too, I don't know, the story is full of charm and I love it, but the gameplay was just a bit on the boring side for me. Frog Detective 1 and 2 are both fantastic games. Very short little walking simulator visual novel style games, but I highly recommend. Helltaker, another free-to-play game. In this one you are playing a guy who decided to basically form a harem of demons, and there is definitely a lot of fan art of this game. The actual game itself is really well done and a cool puzzle game with just a fun little lighthearted story on top. Her Story is another FMV game. This one is you going over video footage, and it's really cool. I highly recommend it. The Hex, this is the first game by this developer I have on here. I have his other games too. The Hex is I kind of can't even want to explain it because it's a game that you just have to play and experience. It does have some spoopy vibes, so know that going into it, but it is a fantastic game. It is probably my least favorite of his games, though it's still fantastic. Hot Tin Roof is a very specific niche. It is an old school 3D platformer detective mystery with a cat companion. If that sounds interesting to you, I recommend you give it a shot. If that doesn't sound interesting to you, I don't think the gameplay itself is going to sell it to you. It's very, very niche. Humane Resource Machine is a coding game. I don't remember the company that made this game. I have their first 2 games on here too. It's tricky at times. However, I think it does give a sort of accurate depiction of coding to the point where people who are coders don't like playing it because it feels like work. Indie Mixtape, this is one of 2 games I have on here that's just a little handful of indie games. This one is mostly itch.io games that they decided to bundle here. Laser Knights seems like fun. I've only played it solo players and by solo play, but I've had surprising fun playing it. There's Tripems, which is a bird detective game, and it's just, a little lighthearted story. And then there is Roguelite, which is actually free on itch.io that I highly recommend. The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, the first game by this company. This one has my least favorite gameplay. I mostly just used the hint system because I honestly just wasn't really bothered. It felt real to me. But the story is fantastic. The theming is on point. I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend you go in as blind as possible. Inscription, another game you should not look up before you play it. It is a fantastic, spoopy mystery tile game built around a roguelite deck builder. Invisible Ink, it has been years since I've played this one. I've seen it compared a lot to like XCOM, where it's a stealth-based SRPG. It's been too long to really comment on it. It'll do. It's a cute little puzzle game. I would have 100%ed it using guides, but there was an achievement to speedrun the game that's actually, like, legitimately you have to speedrun the game, as you have to beat the game in under 15 minutes for the achievement. Jump Jet Rex is a pretty cool little precision platformer where you actually have the ability to fly. However, just because you can fly doesn't mean you don't always want to fly, and sometimes jumping is actually the better option. You don't see a whole lot of precision platformers that give you full control of L movement. Normally that's like a late game upgrade in a more action-based platformer, so that's pretty nifty, honestly. Killer with Fire, it's a game where you kill spiders using whatever means necessary. You kind of get what you have on the packets. I personally do like spiders, but I thought the concept of this game was rather funny, and it is. If it sounds interesting to you, you're probably going to like it. It is what it is. The King's Bird is another sort of flying-based precision platformer, but this one, instead of just being able to fly, you can actually... It's all momentum-based, so you run down and you glide to places. Level Head. This is basically Mario Maker, but on PC. It has some quality of life features that Mario Maker does not have. I definitely think it's worth giving a shot. It does seem to be alive, although they recently stopped doing community posts on it. Little Inferno. It's a game where you burn stuff for the sake of burning stuff. It makes fun of doing stuff in video games just for the sake of doing them, but it's honestly a really fun little game that actively mocks the people who likes it. What could be better? Love to Kuso. This is another little simple precision platformer game. The sort of gimmick of this one is if there's a jump you don't like, you can make a save point right before it. You basically decide where you save, which makes it probably a fairly approachable game of the genre. Levels of Ether. This was a Valentine's Day. April 1st joke that became a reality for the Rivals of Ether game. It's ridiculous. It is what it is. Mysterium, another adventure point-and-click game, and it's I had to look up a guide for this one too. This one's also full of charm. It's definitely worth watching a playthrough of, if nothing else, but there was no way I was going to beat this one on my own. Maid Assembly, a game where you can build cars and then drive cars around. It is different from other games in the genre in the fact that you can curve your vehicles however you want. It's really cool. I want to play it more. Mitoza. This is possibly the most upsetting game I have ever played. It is free to play, and it is disturbing as all get out. Enough said. Monster Loves You is a cute little visual novel choose your own adventure style game where basically you get random scenarios that you choose your options of, and you play as a monster, and you can take over and destroy the human race. You can end up with monsters being as pets. You can get friendship between the two. You can start wars. There's a lot of stuff you can do. I think there's even a hidden achievement to become a doctor. So, Monster Sanctuary. This is what I'm playing currently. It is a Metroidvania monster catching game, and I am in love with it so far. It is rather difficult at times, but team synergies play a huge part. Like, it's definitely more thinky than Pokemon is, and it's a very different gameplay style. Moonlighter. I honestly don't recommend this one because it's a lot of really good ideas, but it's not quite executed correctly, and then there's just some bugs on top of it that make it really rough to play. However, if you already own it, it might be worth giving it a go because it is overall, like I said, a lot of cool ideas. Mushroom 11 is a puzzle platformer type of game. I think it's really cool except for the fact that it becomes more precision-y and finicky later on than it should be. Neon Beats is a free-to-play rhythmic precision platformer that is honestly fantastic, and I do recommend it highly. There's DLC for it that introduces a lot more courses that I do not have. Nexomon is another monster catching game. This one is a lot more akin to Pokemon, but it has an adorable art style, a fantastic story, and is a bit faster paced. Ninja Pizza Go. It's been so long since I played this one. It's basically a okay platformer. I don't think it's really standout. It deals with the heavy topics again. I think this one has to do with bullying mostly. Octodad Deadly is cast. You play an octopus pretending to be a human man. And octopi are not designed to be human men. It's fantastic. Ori and the Blind Forest. I've had mixed opinions on this one. Honestly, after playing the sequel, which I did not like, it made me appreciate what I liked in this one more. It is a very precision platformy Metroidvania. Combat is not the main focus of it. In fact, the main character doesn't attack, his companion does, or her companion does. It's specifically gender neutral. Paradise Killer. This is a fantastic VN/walking sim. It is one of the most bizarre games I have ever played. In fact, you play a immortal, I don't remember what it's called, but you play an immortal who has been exiled for thousands of years due to accidentally conspiring with a demon. Path of Giants is a light little puzzle game. It is pretty cute. I mean, I don't really have much to say. I don't think it's super standout, but it's definitely a good way to spend a couple hours. Phasmophobia, spooky game. It's entertaining to play it at times with my family because most of us are cowards. So it's just basically drawing straws who has to go into the house. But we all enjoy it. It's very weird. Plants vs. Zombies. This was really enjoyable. It is a little bit, you can just spam something and win a lot of the time. But there's serious strategy involved, different types of zombies and plants make it interesting all the way throughout. I dig it. Pony Island, yes. Just yes. It's spoopy, don't look it up, just play it, yes. Portal Knights is a Minecraft-like game, except it is more RPG and kid-focused than survival-focused. It is adorable, it is quite enjoyable, and I do recommend it. I don't own any of the DLC for it. There is DLC that introduces some more classes, some more mounts, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely playable without it. Just know that you will still get drops for the DLC classes. You just can't use them. Psychonauts is a game that gameplay has aged poorly, but story-wise and design-wise is fantastic. Cube is a 3D puzzle game in the veins of Portal. The story and director's cut is generally considered to be bad, but I ended up taking it as a very different way than most people have and really enjoyed it. Real Fishing Road Trip Adventure is a game. I don't play a lot of fishing games. It's not very deep if you're into fishing. As one of the reviews on it says, if you're into the niche category of troubleshooting, because the game is built for controller but does not have controller support, fishing and VNs, it is probably something you would be into. Refunked is a game that I have not played in years. Oh my gosh. Basically, you run around and you touch blocks. I mean, that's really it, but it is an enjoyable little game. Little Game Crunch is another indie game compilation. This one I think is a bit less good. There is a little platformer game where you evolve a monster that is quite enjoyable. There is a Metroidvania that is overcomplicated. There is a shoot 'em up that is really enjoyable, but the final boss in it was so hard I gave up against it. Adventure is a puzzle platformer with a humorous twist in that basically anything you do ends the game. You can grab a sword and then immediately attack gods, and that ends the game. You can go and eventually fight a dragon, and that ends the game. There is progression throughout the run, so you can't just start off by quote-unquote winning the game. It's pretty cute. It's worth a laugh for the first couple hours, and then after that it actually gets into being a legitimate puzzle platformer. Rituals is a simple little walking sim, point-and-click adventure-esque puzzles. Like puzzles. It was enjoyable enough for where it was, but it is rather short and has a couple of tricky puzzles. Rivals of Ether is a Super Smash Bros. Like platform fighter, as they are called. It is very competitive focused, but if you have somebody who is like, if you're not great at this style of game and you have somebody else who's not great at this style of game, it's still very enjoyable. I know that because I suck at Super Smash Bros. And I still enjoy this game. Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. I mean, the name says it all, doesn't it? Pretty fun. I turned down the flashing effects heavily because they hurt a little bit, but it's a very flashy game. Sea of Thieves. Pirate time. Yeah. Fun to play with friends. I don't really have interest in playing it solo, and I haven't played it in a long time. It didn't run super well on my old computer, but it is really fun. I have PvP'd in it, and actually succeeded in stealing treasure, so that's a win. Secrets of Ritzer has one of the coolest art styles I have ever seen. Most people pan the game for being a bit repetitive. I think it's fine. The game does end with the seizure-inducing game of Pong. There is no other way to describe it. The Shape-Shifting Detective, the first game by this company I played. It is fantastic. It is my favorite of them all gameplay-wise, although possibly my least favorite story-wise. It is, however, still amazing, and I highly recommend it. Slimerancer. I'm not as in love with this game as most people I know, but I do still love it. It is adorable. It is one of the few truly happy games I can think of. Smite. I have mostly played arena and against the bots with a friend. This is a sort of casual game. I don't really play the MOBA mode in it, but it is free to play. There's no harm in trying it out if it interests you. Sproggy Wood is a fantastic little light roguelite. It is the rogue gameplay style. It has a little bit of customization of your main area if you want to just relax a bit. I think it was originally designed for mobile, but it still holds up on PC fine. The Stanley Parable. I mean, it's a walking sim. It was the first walking sim I played. It is fantastic. I haven't played it in 5 years, so I need to log on and get that achievement at some point. So yeah. Stardew Valley is a farm sim. It is amazing. There's monster combat and mining. There's fishing that I absolutely adore. You can get married, have kids. It's like the ultimate farm sim game. I still haven't played it since they released the island update. Steamworld Dig is I think it's Motherlode / like Dig Dug style game from what I understand. I haven't ever played either of those two games or seen them played, but I'm familiar with the concepts of them. It's quite enjoyable. Super Hexagon. It's a musical. You die a lot. I don't know how else to describe it, but you die a lot. But it's really fun, and it's quite good on like mobile too. Super Meat Boy is a pretty classic precision platformer. It is not necessarily the prettiest of games, but it is quite fun, and I do recommend it. Sword and Sorcery is a musical sort of point-and-click adventure game. It is a bit easier than other games, and it's more about the journey and the experience than it is about any puzzles. Quite enjoyable. Superliminal is one of the best games I have ever played. It is a puzzle game all about perspective. Everything is about perspective. The Swapper is another fantastic one. This is a puzzle platformer that is about making clones of yourself, and you can swap between them. And it's just fantastic, and I love the story in it too. I was not going to review this one because I've only played like one game on it, but it's Tabletop Simulator, so Tabletop Simulator. Terraria, I haven't played that much of this one in the grand scheme of things when you consider how much content the game can give you. But from what I've played of it, I absolutely adore it. I love 2D platformers, and I love Minecraft, so this is just a match made in heaven for me. Time Frame is a game about exploring a dying, or really more dead world at this point. Time has frozen slowly before the sun crashes into the earth, I believe, something like that, and you can walk around and explore. It's a decent way to spend some time, but nothing really amazing to it. I do recommend it, but don't necessarily go out of your way to play it. Torchlight 2 I've played a fair bit of this when I've beaten the game once, is a action RPG that it's just a lot of fun. It really is just a lot of fun. Tori 2 and Tori 3D, old school style 3D platformers, and I love them. I'm normally not a big fan of 3D platformers, but these ones are just a good difficulty for me. The second one is a bit easier. Transistor is the second and last Supergiant game I have played. It's as fantastic as the first one. I think I honestly might even like it more, because the story I like the story of it a bit more. Undertale. I mean, if you don't know Undertale yet, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. If you do know Undertale, then there's not much more I can say. It is a fantastic game. It's a persistent platformer where you cannot jump and instead flip gravity, and it is fantastic. Love it so much. We Were Here, this is the first We Were Here game. We Were Here 2 is the second one. We Were Here Together is the third one, and We Were Here Forever is the fourth one. And if I was to rank them, I would rank them 2, 1, 4, 3. They are enjoyable games, but 2 is just perfect, while 3 and 4 drag on quite a bit. The first one is very buggy, but it is free to play, so I think that's excusable. The Ritzer, again, in the grand scheme of things, I haven't played this one that much, but I do really want to get back to it and play it more, as I did enjoy it. The Witness. This is almost a game I really enjoyed, but it's just not one that I really enjoyed. It's a bit too out of the box for me sometimes. There's a couple of things that even knowing how to solve the out of the box puzzles annoy me too much to make me want to replay it. It's probably worth a go if you already have access to it somewhere, but it's just too expensive for a game that I do not like to be able to recommend it. World of Goo is a fun little game. It is it gives me like Flash game vibes in a good way. Like, it's quite enjoyable. It's very cute. I like it. Yoku Island Express is a Metroidvania without jumping and without combat. Instead, everything is pinball based, and it's really cool. I highly recommend it. Yooka-Laylee is a 3D platformer that has a very meh story, some absolutely fantastic gameplay, and a horrible final boss that relies on one of the worst mechanics in the game. You Have to Win the Game is a free-to-play game, and the last game I have here. I just didn't love it. I got stuck at one point because of something I don't even remember what, and that just kind of ruined the experience for me. However, it is free-to-play, so no harm in checking it out. Anyway, that is me reviewing every Steam game I have played. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, night. Bye. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye.